You mean over the 20 years that we've been working? Yeah. Well, I mean, Coil started out when I was young, and in a city. So all my anger from and repressed sort of energies and stuff that my parents had pushed down suddenly exploded, and it was a good time to be in London. We had friends like Anstetten and Neubauten and Soft Cell were really good friends, and there was a good scene, very good scene, very creative scene. And Current 93 came out of this, and Nurse with Wound came out of this. And Derek Jarman was working, and filmmakers like Kereth Wyn Evans and John Maybury and Michael Kosif and Michael Clark, dance people, all together, and Lee Bowery had arrived from Australia. So there was many people who were young and fresh and interested and interesting, and together, along with the drugs and the drink and the city and the noise, all became, I suppose, a sort of new equivalent of Dadaism. I think these things happen from time to time. All these things come together, and there's a big vortex of energy. It happened with punk before, commerciality set in with punk. This time it didn't set in so fast, and people were allowed to develop, which is why Nurse with Wound and Current 93 and Coil and so on are still working now. We've been allowed to mature in the dark, whereas most groups or bands, immediately in the light, in the spotlight, and in the papers everywhere, and it's like, you are the best, next one, now you are rubbish. We've never had rubbish or best. There's always been a small amount of people slowly discovering us, and over the years they stay with us. I think this is quite different for a lot of bands. Our following or our friends, our circle of friends gets bigger and bigger, and the people we work with and so on. And we explore new music every time.
So you were allowed to be yourself. So
absolutely,
to
yeah.
Your natural evolution, and
yeah.
to follow a standardization from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, we've never, apart from people, Some Bazaar turned into a complete nightmare, because despite the fact we had no papers signed and no contracts and a promise that we could always walk away, we always assumed this would be walking away with our own material, but they had different ideas. So this is the only problem we've had really in the whole of our career, and it was a huge setback because the money was withheld from us. So, but again, I see it as a good thing, because again we were kept low in profile and allowed to develop on our own. Somebody else may have seduced us with money, probably not, but may have done, so we're very happy to be, doing what we're doing now. It's a great privilege,
It's good not to have to support everyone with your, with the work that you do. We support ourselves and our fantasies and our explorations financially, but we don't have any company who is depending on us for survival. And so there is absolutely no pressure. If we want to do a record like Time Machines, which is totally different from anything that was ever done before, including by us, then we can do that, and and people are amazed, because it is something that's totally new that would never have been made by a commercial record company.
Do you think the market changed?
It's always changing, people are always...
No, but I mean the fact that the independent scene became so big and so important, changed the attitude of commercial. Do you think?
I mean, you use the word independent. I think it's dependent. It's not independent. They are dependent. Even bands who say they're independent, like Rage Against the Machine or System of a Down, or anyone who's signed to a major label is dependent on that major label to keep their profile. And they have sold their soul to the devil, the commercial. And we will never do this. We have never done this. Bands like Crass never did this. They had their day. They finished because they wanted to finish. Then they had said what they wanted to say. We still have a lot to say. This is my life's work. You know, I can't do anything else. I can only do what I do. So it's my life's work, and so I will never sell to anybody else.
So what you call the independent, or what people call the independent music genre, is really it's a copy, or it's something that the major labels made when they suddenly realized that independent groups and companies were coming up. They decided to make a genre of what they did. They decided to call it independent, especially in the USA. But the only reason that they did that was to undermine the ability of truly independent people from reaching the mass market.
But the whole phrase independent, I mean, we're all dependent on each other, depending on what level we work at. I couldn't do what I do or what Coil do unless I was working with Peter and with Simon and with Cliff and Mike now, and also the other people who support us. And with David Tibet, I bounce ideas off him, and if any of us sort of disappear, then there's a huge hole in our life. We've been friends with these people, Steve Stapleton and David Tibet and such, and people in America, the Butthole Surfers and things. And it goes quiet from time to time, but it comes up again. It's because longevity is so important, and as our phrase says, persistence is all. You have to keep going. As I say, I can't do anything else. So I'd rather be dead, than not create in any way.
I think it's essential creatively to keep all your paths open, to kind of to be like shapeshifters almost.
Absolutely,
not to kind of just stay still on one idea and not ever deviate from it. It kind of it keeps it exciting for us to remain open, and it also allows the possibility of surprise for ourselves as well, so we can actually grow with it.
The sort of idea of receiving and being a transmitter and a receiver is what the artist has to do. You must always keep all your channels open. It's like SETI, the search for intelligent life, extraterrestrial life. You must keep all the sky open, listen to all the sky just for that one signal. And it's like things, Pasolini films or something have influenced us so strongly. Not necessarily music, and then Arve Pärt or someone, or the Cramps. The early Cramps for me was wonderful. And when we do the music you hear tonight, which is traditional music mixed with extreme electronics and all sorts, I still think of the Cramps in my head, and I think Arvo Pärt, and I think
everything is backward.
Yeah. And I constantly have in my heart a whole reservoir of these older templates, these people who went before us. I bear them in mind, and I use their strength to do what we do.
Can you talk about your experience with German for the music for Blue and the angelic conversation?
Yeah, I mean we Peter originally. Go on, so you say you're okay. Peter was originally in Throbbing Gristle, and Derek Jarman and Throbbing Gristle collaborated several times on Psychic Rally in Heaven short film and In the Shadow of the Sun, which is a longer film, and Genesis, and Peter knew him then. So when I moved down to London and became a member of Psychic Television, I used to see him on the gay scene, but he used to live on the Charing Cross Road in a flat, and every time I go into town I'd pop up and see him, and every time he'd go there there'd be new people, there'd be dancers who choreographed what's that Wolves program? I mean, there'd be the Company of Wolves, and Toya and Brian Eno, and his room was a very small room, like a cell, like a monk's cell, lined with books and pictures and things. And he was a really good friend, we had sex in back rooms with him, and I would be in back rooms watching him have sex with others, and he'd say, "Be careful," and I'd say, "Be careful" to him, and it was sort of. And we had interest in magic as well. He gave me one of my first original Austin Osman spare magical books, as a present from Derek. And
What do you mean by a magical book?
like a grimoire, original, a proper occult grimoire. He was interested.
White or black?
I don't go into this area.
No.
Multicolored.
Multicolored.
Yes.
Rainbow.
No, not red. Well, maybe.
No, not rainbow.
No, but
I
multicolored.
understand,
Yeah, every color. And we had a great interest in magic together, and John Dee, and the Enochian magic, which is a sort of talking to the angels through scrying mirrors, and so many themes together, but also and Pasolini interest as well. But he was a really good friend, as I say, and we always wanted to work with him, but he had Simon Fisher Turner working with him for quite a lot, and we sort of stepped back a little bit, and rather saw him socially than be involved in some of the major films. And then the chance came for us to work on The Angelic Conversation, and Derek, we asked him for a film. Instead of doing a video for music we had already made, we said, "Would you make a film? And we will do the soundtrack." So it was very much a sort of unique kind of collaboration. And so he did a version. In fact, he filmed some in Bologna here. And we didn't like it. We said, "This is okay, Derek, but this is like many of your Super 8 films. We've seen this. Do something good. Do something, push it much further." So he went, "Oh, okay." Not many people say this to me, but I'll do it. And he went away and involved the Shakespeare sonnets. And two of the lovers I had at the time, Paul and Philip, who were the lovers in the film, they were my lovers for a short time. So there was this sort of intimate connection, which makes it an intimate film. And then with Blue, it was very sad. I mean, he was very ill many times with AIDS-related illnesses, and many times we thought he was dying, but he had this incredible this urge to cling to life and to continue creating. To be in his presence was amazing. You would be energized. He was lying on the floor of his room on a mattress, blind, covered in skin problems and breathing badly, just come out of hospital for a big operation. And you'd go and see him, and somehow this saintly power would pass through him, and you'd come away like, wow, this is, I feel like I've had a major drug. I feel amazing. And Derek always had that power, and he always had this power to get people around him to work together. It was wonderful to know him. And my sort of lasting memory was when we played him the Disco Hospital piece that we did for Blue. He got out of his chair with his stick, was dancing around, blind. So, "Oh, this is brilliant. This is my favourite piece of music." And then, so I do wish we'd worked much more with him. We worked on ideas. We're always developing stories about how he wanted. There was a murder story we were going to do with him, how he was killed while writing a film script in his flat, in the sort of Pasolini style, by a rent boy or something. So it would be a murder mystery with Derek as the victim. And he had a sort of strange sexual attraction to this fantasy. So.
What do you think about your public? Audience, yeah. At first, you were considered as a musician for collectors, for special kind
Yeah.
of public,
Yeah.
of public,
Yeah.
a special cultural kind.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this change?
It's difficult because I don't really know.
We are collectors.
I think so.
Yeah.
2 days ago, I was downloading from internet the time machine,
Yeah.
MP3, and on the other side, the guys tell me, I don't give you this MP3 if you don't give
swap. Yeah, yeah,
exchange.
yeah.
No? What can you offer? I offer him other special MP3, rare MP3. So it's very special public.
Well, we have a very strong following, and as I say, it's like people we knew when I was young. So they were like 14 or 16. They're still friends and still Coil fans. So I think, I don't know. We manage. Some people go away for a while, come back, and they'll find new music that we're doing different things. So, but we do have a very, very loyal and strong fan base, and some of them are collectors, and there's an awful lot of young Americans and young Europeans who just keep finding it. So we're very grateful and happy. This is the situation. But we don't really monitor who our audience are. It's only when we play live that we actually get to smell and see and touch and whatever. Hopefully.
It's very special audience.
Yeah.
May I ask something more about the production? So how did you manage to be really independent? So how did, I mean, from the
How is
beginning?
possible?
Yeah.
So
By
many artists are.
Persistence is all.
Again, it is the persistence is all,
Yeah,
but
that's what
it's also we do know how to say no very well. It's a very important word in language. No.
Yeah.
No. Will you do this? Will you do that? You think, okay, I should do, but no, we won't. And it's only now we decided to play live, or recently. Before we always said no, and this gave us the space to do the quieter music or something else. And I think, it's like if people ask you a question, you don't have to answer ever. If people ask you to do something, you don't have to do it. You only have to do what you feel is right. And I think we have mostly done what we feel is right.
I think a lot of people who start in the music business, when you're starting in the music business, you want to say yes to every opportunity because you don't have very many opportunities. So in a way that we said yes to some bizarre label, which was in some ways it was good, but in other ways it was bad. And people who are just starting to make experimental music or electronic music sometimes may say yes to an offer or a deal or an opportunity that's actually going to be bad for them. Yeah. If you it's easier now than ever before to sell music, whether it's on the internet or by distributing MP3s, or all you have to do is to have ideas that people will remember and recognize and feel are important, and you have to just get your name a little bit of public, a little bit well known, and so people will come to your website, and that's really all you need, apart from enough money to buy the equipment if you need equipment or an instrument. So I think it's much easier now than it was 20 years ago, but it's also much easier for us because we've been working for 20 years to make it so that we have a name, so people will come.
Well, the choice to say yes or no is always an open one and very important.
But
No, I expected something technical, but you put on the spiritual, and I think it's the most important.
People are frightened to say no.
Yeah.
It's like, sort of soft politics. There's so much choice in the world. You have to shut most of it out if you want to get on with what you really have inside. Otherwise, distraction is the death you will suffer.
3 minutes. Can you talk us about your future project?
Which one? Many. Yeah. Yeah. We have an album in sort of form number 1. It's finished, but I'm not happy with it. We're not really happy with it. This is what was recorded for Trent Reznor and the Nothing label in America, And it's old now.
The problem is that we've been working on it for 10 years, off and on.
It's just too long.
So there are parts of it. There are some parts that we don't like. But we hope to release that soon, and to make it relevant to how we feel today.
And we have a 5 CD box set of Time Machines, which is time machines squared, so yeah, or to the power of 2, what else? We're going to do 2 DVDs,
Possibly 3.
We'll start with 2.
Is it a teamwork?
Teamwork?
Teamwork.
You mean between us all?
How do you mean?
Yeah.
You mean, are you working with a lot of people?
No. No.
We do nearly everything that we can do ourselves. We do.
We do the music, we do the covers, we do the production, we do animation,
design, filming,
website,
DVDs,
cooking, feeding the dogs, walking the dogs, gardening.
We're working on a cookery book right now.
We are actually working on a cookery book. Yeah.
Well, recipes, for different dishes for food.
We may give you some recipes.
Oh, please do, yes. But it's a how to say it? It's a cookery book. It's in bad taste. It's also it's bad taste. It
tastes good.
It's bad taste cookbook. No, tastes good, but
funny after.
But strange ideas.
Many strange ideas, like proper magic in there. So some recipes will be, you have to prepare them when the moon is full, or they contain ingredients like human flesh, or squid ink, or gravel, or gold, or anything strange, or
with flowers.
Poisonous flowers, or hallucinogenic, or edible flowers. There's going to be.
But you can have new ideas, develop new ideas.
But it's all the ideas will be sort of irreverent. You know the word, sort of.
Disobedient.
Yeah, disobedient. Exactly. It's a disobedient cookbook. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Really,
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you very much.
No.
Doctor Who fan. Are you a Doctor Who fan?
Doctor Who.
I like Doctor Who.